On the day the top scholar and I became betrothed, a woman blocked my carriage in the street. Claiming to be his fiancée, she wept as she recounted the kindnesses I had shown her over the years. Unable to bear putting Song Jian in a difficult position, I agreed to take her as a secondary wife. Yet on the very day of my wedding, she hanged herself in bitter resentment. She left behind a suicide note denouncing me for forcing her into this situation through my power. Years later, the top scholar rose to become a high minister of the emperor, winning the princess's favor. He then turned around and falsely accused me of having an affair with another man, framing my family for treason. Before the ancestral hall, Song Jian gripped my throat with a savage expression. "Xinyun Zhang, this is your retribution for driving Zhiqiao to death." When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Song Jian came to propose. This time, I rushed into the main hall and knelt before my parents. "Father, mother, this marriage, your daughter refuses." "Miss, word from the front hall, champion scholar Song has arrived with many gifts for the match." When I opened my eyes, I met the delighted face of my personal maid, Jiyue. The suffocating weight of public condemnation and the choking grip on my throat vanished. Surrounding me were the white jade corridors unique to the Prime Minister's residence and the fragrance of lotus blossoms filling the pond. I instantly realized I had been reborn. Reborn on the very day Song Jian came to propose marriage at the Prime Minister's residence. On this day, my parents would agree to his proposal because of my affection for Song Jian, and Fang Zhiqiao would intercept my carriage, berating me for stealing her husband. Thinking of this, I exhaled softly. Thankfully, there was still time. The betrothal hadn't been finalized yet. My fiancé hadn't appeared. The princess who'd colluded with Song Jian to destroy my family hadn't shown her face. I hurriedly rose and dashed straight to the front hall. The moment I stepped into the main hall, I saw Song Jian seated at the lower end. His hair bound with a jade sash, clad in a moon-white robe trimmed with silver, he sat with respectful demeanor, the very picture of a courteous gentleman. It was this very facade that deceived me, leading me to believe he was a noble scholar, truly in love with me. Little did I know beneath lay a venomous heart, scheming to climb the ladder of power. A surge of hatred welled up within me. Clenching my fists, I averted my gaze and strode forward. Ignoring the astonished stares of the crowd, I knelt before my parents and bowed my head solemnly. "Father, mother, this marriage, your daughter refuses." Mother, startled, knocked over the teacup in her hand. "Yun Zhang, do you know what you're saying?" The princess of Huayan, seated beside Song Jian, frowned and shot me a displeased glance. She had been specially invited by Song Jian to act as matchmaker, ostensibly to show me favor but truly to secure imperial backing and seal the match. In my previous life, upon learning Song Jian had a childhood sweetheart betrothed to him, I intended to call off the engagement. Yet, due to the Princess of Huayan's role as matchmaker and my genuine affection for Song Jian, I relented. But with the Princess of Huayan acting as matchmaker, and my genuine affection for Song Jian, I ultimately let it be. Now, without so much as a glance at the darkening expressions of Song Jian and the princess beside me, I steadied my resolve, my gaze unwavering. Your daughter has never been more clear-headed. I do not like Song Jian and refuse to marry him. Father and mother exchanged a glance, their eyes filled with deep worry. Father spoke sternly, "Nonsense. Only yesterday you insisted you'd marry no one but the top scholar Song, and today you've changed your mind? Do you think marriage is a game?" I knelt straight, my tone respectful yet unwavering. My earlier words were spoken under influence. My mind clouded, I mistook a fish's eye for a pearl. Now I am clear-headed. I beg Father to grant my request. From the start, my parents had opposed this match. Father, having navigated the treacherous waters of officialdom for years, had seen every kind of person. He always felt Song Jian was too petty-minded to be a suitable match. Moreover, Song Jian came from a humble scholar family, while ours was a lineage of generations of officials. Our social standings simply didn't match. But he couldn't resist my insistence that I loved him and would marry no one else, so he reluctantly agreed. Though he was now displeased that I had changed my mind at the last moment, deep down he was still pleased. Yet, in front of outsiders, he had to reprimand me. "It seems I have spoiled you too much, allowing you to act so recklessly." Song Jian looked utterly incredulous, reaching out to pull me closer for an explanation. "Yun Zhang, you. Mother hurried out to smooth things over, pulling back the princess consort of Huayan who was about to speak. It seems there's a misunderstanding between the two children. Perhaps we should postpone the betrothal arrangements for now and discuss them later? Seeing the situation, the princess consort of Huayan knew the betrothal would never be finalized today. She swept her sleeves and left. Song Jian tried to say more, but Mother didn't give him the chance. "Steward, see them out." Watching the receding figures of the princess consort of Huayan and Song Jian, I slowly rose and threw myself into my parents' arms, weeping uncontrollably. In my past life, they died because of me. This time, I would never repeat that mistake. When my sobs subsided slightly, Mother asked softly, "Yun Zhang, what happened?" I sniffed back tears, not daring to reveal everything from my past life to my parents. I only mentioned that Song Jian actually had a fiancé. My mother was furious upon hearing this. I never imagined Song Jian could be so despicable. He already has a betrothal agreement, yet he dares to pretend he's single and deceive others into marriage. To toy with my daughter like this, I must go demand an explanation today. I hurriedly stopped my mother as she rushed toward the door. "Mother, you mustn't. Song Jian's fiancée hasn't shown herself yet. If you confront him and he denies everything, then turns the tables on us, won't everyone say the Chancellor's household is bullying others with its power? Instead, let's spread the news about Song Jian coming to propose today. That way, the woman will also know what kind of person he truly is." In my past life, after betrothal to Song Jian, I shared the joyous news throughout the capital. Soon after, a woman who had traveled 1,000 miles seeking her husband stopped my carriage in the street. She claimed to be Song Jian's betrothed. Weeping before me on the roadside, she begged for a way to survive, willing to follow Song Jian even as a concubine. My heart was wholly devoted to Song Jian then, fearing this incident would tarnish his official career and reputation. Upon learning that woman had sold her family possessions and even washed clothes daily to scrape together money for Song Jian's studies, I felt even greater pity for her hardship. Swallowing my own bitterness, I discussed with Song Jian the possibility of taking her as a co-wife. I still remember how joyful he was that day, pulling me close and sighing repeatedly. "Yun Zhang, you are truly the finest woman in the world. From this day forward, I shall be wholly devoted to you alone. My bond with Fang Zhiqiao is one of obligation and gratitude. You, and you alone, are my one true love." When my parents learned of this, they adamantly demanded I annul the engagement, refusing to accept such humiliation. But love had clouded my judgment. I was determined to marry Song Jian, even if it meant severing ties with my family. On the day of our wedding, Fang Zhiqiao, consumed by rage, hanged herself. She left a letter denouncing me for forcibly taking her husband and bullying her with my power. When Song Jian learned of this, his expression remained calm. He only said Fang Zhiqiao lacked the fortune to enjoy happiness and told me not to dwell on it. Yet the stain of driving his first wife to death clung to me from that day onward. 5 years later, when Song Jian became a high-ranking court official favored by the princess, he slandered me for adultery and framed my family for treason, all to marry the princess. Only then did I see my husband for what he truly was, a power-hungry hypocrite through and through. But it was too late. 67 members of the Shin family had already been beheaded. I too was bound before the Song family shrine. Song Jian gripped my throat with a savage expression. "Shin Yun Zhang, you drove Zhiqiao to her death. This is your retribution." Zhiqiao. Suddenly, I felt an urge to laugh. His excuse was so pathetically feeble. Zhiqiao was merely another version of myself he had discarded. Dead for so many years, yet she became an indelible vermilion birthmark upon my chest, breeding deep affection. How laughable. But he didn't know, his Zhiqiao wasn't entirely innocent either. Even her hanging was a performance. Unfortunately, one careless mistake turned fake death into real death. After calming father and mother, I instructed Juyu to pack our things and prepare to go shopping. Juyu looked at my still swollen eyes with concern. "Miss, your spirit is unsettled today. Wouldn't it be better to rest at home and go out in a couple of days?" I tapped Juyu's head. "The stage is already set. How could the performer not be there?" Juyu looked puzzled but obediently summoned the carriage as instructed. Before entering the main hall, I had already ordered the household servants to spread the news throughout the city that Song Jian had come to propose marriage. Adding to the commotion, Song Jian hadn't anticipated being rebuffed today and had arrived with the princess consort of Huayan in grand style. Thus, within half a day, most of the capital knew that the newly crowned top scholar had proposed to the daughter of the chancellor. As the carriage reached the main street, it suddenly halted. A woman in coarse cloth and a simple hairpin stood with arms outstretched before the chancellor's carriage, kneeling stiffly. Thump! 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 She bowed her head repeatedly, drawing a crowd to stop and watch. Please, Miss Shin, grant me a way to live. Jiyue lifted the curtain and helped me out. Who are you, and why are you blocking the chancellor's carriage? I had dressed up specially for today's outing. Not only was my robe made of 10,000 tael-priard Tianxiang brocade, but I also wore the imperial bestowed 9-treasure pearl crown and adorned myself with a gemstone necklace, radiating beauty and nobility. Fang Zhiqiao froze upon seeing my attire, her eyes flashing with envy and resentment. But it lasted only a moment before she lowered her gaze and resumed her kowtowing. Miss Shin, this humble maiden is Fang Zhiqiao. I am the childhood sweetheart and betrothed of the current top scholar, Song Jian. The surrounding onlookers erupted into a frenzy upon hearing this, their whispers growing incessant. Recalling my past life, I panicked the moment she spoke those words. I rushed forward to support her, pulling her into the carriage to prevent her from uttering anything that might jeopardize Song Jian's career. Unexpectedly, this action was twisted by malicious tongues into proof of my guilt, that I was bullying the weak and forcibly taking another man's husband. Now, watching Fang Zhiqiao kneel on the ground, I understood everything. This was clearly a play she had staged herself. Ignoring the probing stares around us, I fixed my gaze upon her. If you are indeed the fiancé of the top scholar, Mr. Song, why did you not seek him out? Why did you instead intercept the carriage of the Prime Minister's residence? Caught off guard by my composure, her kowtowing motion faltered. She clutched her sleeve to her face and began to weep. I didn't want to do this, she sobbed, but I journeyed day and night for a month from my hometown to reach the capital. Before I could even see Master Song, I was hunted down. I begged Miss Shin to spare my life, considering how I washed clothes day and night and sold off our family possessions to support Master Song's studies. As she spoke, she stretched out her hands. The skin was cracked and raw, red and white, proving her words were true. Now I have nothing left, no home to return to. Since Master Song is betrothed to Miss Shin, I know my lowly status makes me unworthy of him. But my affection for Master Song is genuine. I beg Miss Shin to show mercy and let me remain by his side even as a concubine. Fang Zhiqiao wept pitifully, and the crowd, moved by her plight, immediately began to speak up for her. Miss Shin, this is outrageous. Not only did you steal someone's fiancé, but you tried to take their life. Even as the daughter of the Prime Minister, you cannot act this way. Exactly. You privileged few bully us common folk. You won't leave without an explanation today. Right. Don't even think about leaving. Bullying the weak in broad daylight, is there no law anymore? The crowd's fury boiled over, and Juyu's eyes flashed red. You're making false accusations. Our young lady never. I stopped Juyu and suddenly smiled. Ignoring this mindless crowd, I strolled leisurely to Fang Zhiqiao. Since Madame Fang keeps insinuating I hired someone to harm you and stole your fiancé, why didn't you go to the Jingzhou prefecture to seek justice? Instead, you block my carriage in the street? Could it be that I, the very villain plotting your downfall, hold more sway than the prefectural office? Hearing this, Fang Zhiqiao adopted a look of profound grievance, stammering out, Miss Shin's father holds the rank of chancellor. How could the prefectural office dare to intervene? I laughed aloud once more. Madame Fang, you truly have sharp eyes and ears. Having just arrived in the capital, you already know the magistrate's office dares not intervene. Then, after Song Zhuangyuan came to my home to propose, you managed to intercept the chariot of the Prime Minister's household without fail, and I just happened to be riding in it. Alas, Madame Fang, you've got the wrong person. She snapped her head up, her eyes wide with bewilderment. My contemptuous voice met her gaze. The Prime Minister's household never agreed to Zhuangyuan Song's marriage proposal. And I will never marry Song Jian. Fang Xiqiao froze as if struck by lightning, too stunned to even cry. I crouched down, observing her pitiful, tear-streaked face. Next time, before putting on a show, make sure you get your facts straight. With that, I turned and walked away without another word. Barely a few steps out, an enraged male voice called after me, "Xinyun Zhang. Why are you bullying Xiqiao?" I turned to meet Song Jian's furious face. I clearly saw the flash of astonishment in his eyes the moment he recognized me, swiftly suppressed and replaced by a haughty glare. In the past, out of deference to his pride, I never dressed up in his presence, let alone wore jeweled headdresses. Now, I couldn't care less. He had already helped Xiqiao to her feet. "Xinyun Zhang, apologize." In my past life, I had most admired the stubborn courage in Song Jian. I always thought him a noble gentleman, unafraid of power, clear-sighted and just. But looking at him now, it was clear he was playing both sides, confident I couldn't live without him. He probably even thought my refusal of his marriage proposal today was a ploy to play hard to get, a game to draw him in. I met Song Jian's gaze, my tone playful. "Shouldn't the top scholar offer me an explanation?" Song Jian's expression faltered. He furrowed his brow, puzzled. "Explain what?" I raised my hand, pointing at Fang Xiqiao nestled in his embrace, raising an eyebrow. Her. Song Jian still didn't know the specifics of what had just happened. Though a flicker of unease crossed his face, it vanished almost instantly. "You publicly humiliated someone. What else needs explaining?" "Xinyun Zhang, don't think I cut him off. Champion Song, don't beat around the bush. You already have a fiancé. Why did you declare your affection for me at the poetry gathering? And why did you come to my home today to propose marriage? After my family refused your proposal, why did your fiancé block my path in the street, slandering me for stealing her husband? It's true I once harbored feelings for you, Xinyun Zhang. But regarding today's incident, shouldn't the top scholar give my family's residents an explanation? Or do you two think my family is easy to bully?" I laid everything out plainly, repeatedly mentioning the family residence, forcing Song Jian's face to flush crimson. "You're spouting nonsense." Having said that, he found himself unable to refute it and shoved Fang Xiqiao away from his embrace. "I don't know what you're talking about." He slunk away. Fang Xiqiao stumbled along behind him, clinging to his back. When I returned home that evening, Mother clutched me and wept, cursing Song Jian and Fang Xiqiao as a pair of snakes and rats. Father stood nearby, fuming with rage. "Tomorrow, I shall accuse him in court of ingratitude and deceit." I hurriedly stopped him. "Father, you mustn't." Song Jian was this year's top imperial scholar. The emperor held him in high regard. If my father denounced him now, it would be tantamount to opposing his majesty. I whispered my plan into my father's ear. Mother gazed at me with worry, gently smoothing the hair at my temple. "Yun Zhang, tell your mother honestly, do you still harbor feelings for that Song Jian?" I lowered my gaze. "No." "Feelings?" When Song Jian destroyed my parents and slaughtered my entire family, all that remained for me was hatred, a hatred so deep it cut to the bone. Mother exhaled softly upon hearing this. "Very well. In time, I shall arrange a more suitable match for you." I nestled into Mother's embrace, concealing the murderous intent in my eyes, greedily savoring this hard-won affection. After that day, Song Jian came to the Shin residence seeking me several times, only to be turned away by the gatekeeper each time. Father merely mentioned to a few colleagues that he had a fiancée who was now seeking to marry him, yet this caused him constant obstruction in the court, making his path exceedingly difficult. That day, he finally couldn't hold back. While I was selecting jewelry, he cornered me in the silver shop. "Xinyun Zhang, you win. I will send Xiqiao back to the countryside. She will never appear before you again." I was puzzled, looking at him in confusion. Song Jian's expression grew impatient. "I know you're upset about Xiqiao, which is why you're sulking. First you refused the marriage, then you had your father target me in court. I've already conceded this much. I'll go back to the chancellor to propose marriage, giving you ample face. Don't push your luck." I almost laughed. How had I never noticed his shamelessness in my previous life? This was merely the first step of my counterattack, and he already couldn't bear it. I set down the ornament I'd been selecting and looked at him calmly. Mr. Song, I don't understand what you're saying. But Miss Fong traveled thousands of miles to find you. Your actions seem rather heartless. Song Jian's brow furrowed deeply as he reached out to seize my arm, Shenyan Zhang, playing hard to get has its limits. I took a step back. Mr. Song, please restrain yourself. I cannot bear the reputation of stealing another's love, forcibly taking a husband, or bullying others with power. Song Jian's face darkened. He stepped forward, about to say more. Suddenly, a pair of hands pulled me aside. A cold male voice retorted, "Does the top scholar not understand? My fiancée stated she wishes no involvement with you." Song Jian stared at our clasped hands, his lips trembling. You. Both. Finally, overcome with shame and anger, he turned and fled the scene. The man who had spoken was Prince Duan, Ji Huaishu, the youngest brother of the current emperor, and my newly chosen husband. In my past life, my impression of Prince Duan was faint. I only recalled seeing him a few times in school as a child. Then came fleeting glimpses at grand banquets. Later, after marrying Song Jian, I heard him mention several times that Prince Duan seemed to dislike him intensely, always targeting him in court. To summarize, high rank, handsome, and on the same side. Perfectly matching my criteria for a husband in this life. My future rival is the princess. Only by marrying into the imperial family can I better compete with her. After that day, Song Jian never came to see me again. He began frequenting the homes of high-ranking officials with marriageable daughters. It seemed he intended to abandon me and seek a more suitable marriage alliance. You see, even without me, he never intended to marry Fang Zhiqiao. From start to finish, I was merely a stepping stone for Song Jian and Fang Zhiqiao to climb higher. One exploited my family, the other feasted on my reputation. These two, greedy for glory and full of scheming, deserved to be locked away. Thus, I began executing the second move in my carefully rehearsed plan. Within 2 days, a tale spread throughout the capital, a laundry girl journeying 1,000 miles to find her husband. The story told of a woman toiling day and night to fund a scholar's studies until he passed the imperial examination as top scholar. At first, it seemed like the cliched tale of a scholar's fickleness, abandoning his poor sweetheart for a noble bride. But unexpectedly, after the girl's 1,000-mile search, the scholar renounced the noble maiden for her sake. He returned with a grand wedding procession to marry the laundry girl. When the storytellers were in high spirits, they never failed to praise the current top scholar. This Song Zhuangyuan is just like the hero in the tale, loyal, righteous, and grateful. Not only did he bring his fiancée all the way to the capital, but he also turned down a marriage proposal from the prime minister's family. Truly, he is a model scholar. I hired dozens more storytellers to spread the tale day and night in tea houses and taverns. Within days, this tale swept through the capital, becoming the talk of every household. Soon, word reached the imperial court. In the court hall, the emperor praised Song Jian before his ministers. Minister Song truly lives up to his reputation as a noble gentleman of deep loyalty and integrity. I must not miss the wedding feast when the time comes. In his previous life, he had secured his position in court and enjoyed smooth sailing by leveraging his marriage alliance with the prime minister's family. But in this life, I had completely severed Song Jian's path to relying on such connections. Let's see how he manages to scramble around now. With the overwhelming public sentiment and the emperor's praise, Song Jian, as expected, married Fang Zhiqiao. The wedding procession below played music and made a great commotion. I couldn't help but peek out, only to anger the person beside me. Suddenly, a fan tapped my forehead. Ji Huaishu's clear voice rang out. What's the matter? Regretting it? I withdrew my gaze and feigned annoyance. The Prince of Huai must be bored out of his mind to get jealous over something like this. During this period, Ji Huaishu and I got along exceptionally well. He came from a noble background, was humble and courteous, and was a pleasure to look at. The person across from me laughed heartily and handed me a piece of fruit. So, what are your plans now? Turn the tables on him. I saw Song Jian and Shi Qiao again half a month later at the princess's birthday banquet. To celebrate, the princess invited all the noble families in the capital. On this day in my past life, I endured nothing but cold stares and harassment. Every word spoken to me was dripping with sarcasm. All because Xiqiao hanged herself on my wedding night, leaving behind a letter cursing me. From that day on, I became the laughingstock of this social circle. Truthfully, I had explained myself and investigated the truth. Before her suicide, Xiqiao had frequently met with a certain man. Following the trail, I discovered that man was Xiqiao's own brother. He had been constantly demanding money from her, and recently, burdened by a huge gambling debt, he sold her to a gambling house. Her brother told Xiqiao, "You should have been the primary wife, but Xinyan Zheng made you a secondary wife. It sounds nice, but it's still just a concubine. Once you marry him, behind closed doors, who knows how he'll torment you." So the two hatched a fake death scheme, first, to smear my reputation and vent their anger, second, to let Xiqiao vanish, third, to exploit Song Jian's guilt to extort a large sum of money. But her brother feared that if the gambling house discovered Xiqiao was still alive, he would face retaliation. He went all the way and strangled Xiqiao to death, turning the fake death into a real one. In my past life, I recounted all this to Song Jian, hoping he'd believe I never forced Xiqiao. He merely brushed it off indifferently. It's all in the past. Xiqiao simply wasn't destined for it. Looking back now, he'd long been convinced I was the one who ruined Xiqiao. No amount of explanation from me would change that. I pulled my thoughts back. From afar, I spotted Xiqiao sitting uneasily among a group of noble women. Born a laundry maid, she knew neither reading nor writing, nor the slightest of court etiquette. In such a setting, she stood out like a sore thumb. The noble women of the capital, all meticulously cultivated by their families, naturally looked down on her. They exchanged snide remarks, mocking her until she couldn't lift her head. My friend, seeing this, was about to join in the ridicule, but I stopped her. No need to stoop to her level. If she latches onto you, you'll only invite trouble. But even if I didn't provoke Fang Xiqiao, she would still hold it against me. In the peony garden, she blocked my path, her eyes red as she demanded, "Miss Shin, what must I do for you to leave me alone?" I stared at her as if she were a fool. "Madam Song, have you lost your mind? How dare you pin this on me?" She darted a glance behind me, squeezed out 2 tears, and reached for my hand. "Miss Shin, I know you resent my marriage to Xian, but I truly love him. Please, spare me. Stop them from targeting me, will you? If you wish, I'll be your concubine, I'll give you the position of primary wife." Before she finished, Fang Xiqiao let out a startled cry and collapsed to one side. From a distance, it looked as though I'd deliberately pushed her. Song Jian appeared from nowhere, steadying her with a firm grip. His words were thick with venom. "Xinyan Zhang, I never imagined you could be so vicious. Xiqiao never wronged you, yet you torment her relentlessly, first forcing her to kneel in public, now rallying others to slander and ostracize her. I truly misjudged you." His gaze now brimmed with disgust. "I foolishly believed you were a well-bred lady of refinement. Now you make me sick. It's you, Mr. Song, slandering a noble woman without a shred of evidence, that's what truly disgusts me." My face turned cold as I met his glare head-on. As the daughter of the esteemed chancellor and future princess consort of Prince Duan, why would I ever deign to notice the wife of some lowly 6th-rank Hanlin Academy editor? And deliberately torment her? You really do think too highly of yourselves. Song Jian, struck at his core, glared at me with fury. "Xinyan Zhang, aren't you doing all this just to get my attention? Let me tell you, Master Song still doesn't understand a word I say." Before he could finish, Ji Huaishu interrupted, already stepping beside me. "How dare you criticize my fiancé so freely?" Song Jian reluctantly fell silent at the sudden appearance of the Prince of Duan. He could only swallow his anger, shot me a resentful glare, and departed with Xiqiao. Shortly after they left, the princess approached. She asked Ji Huaishu, "Uncle, who was that man who just passed by?" My heart skipped a beat, so the princess had already set her sights on Song Jian this early on. "Your Highness, that was the newly crowned top scholar, Song Jian, and his mother, Lady Song," I replied. Satisfied with the answer, the princess turned her gaze to me. "You must be my uncle's betrothed. You truly are a beauty." I answered calmly with a smile, though beneath my sleeve, my nails dug deep into my flesh. Princess Anning, the very person who had destroyed my family in my past life. Over the next 2 months, events unfolded rapidly. First, Fang Zhiqiao's brother was dragged to our doorstep by a gang of thugs, demanding Song Jian repay his gambling debts. They threatened to abduct Fang Zhiqiao if he refused. Then, when Fang Zhiqiao attended the Duke's banquet, she presented the wrong gift and was expelled from the mansion by the Duchess. In an instant, the top scholar who had basked in glory just weeks before became the laughingstock of the entire capital due to his domestic affairs. Rumors spread through the Song household servants that Fang Zhiqiao wasn't as virtuous as she appeared. She lorded over the household, skimming servants' wages to buy jewelry, lashing out with beatings and insults at the slightest provocation, leaving the lower servants miserable. When Juyu came to report this, I wasn't surprised. "What about Song Jian?" I asked. "I heard he was reprimanded by the emperor. And I've noticed he's been rushing to the princess's residence after court lately." "I suspect." Juyu didn't finish, but I understood her meaning. He was desperate. Desperate to be with the princess. Sure enough, within days, a mangled corpse appeared on the outskirts of the capital. Meanwhile, Fang Zhiqiao, who had journeyed thousands of miles searching for her husband, fell ill and became bedridden. The princess had indeed intervened, and with ruthless efficiency. Soon after, Song Jian's career began soaring, his rank rising 3 levels in rapid succession. Our next encounter came after a state banquet. Seated in the main hall, I performed a piece on the zither that left the audience in awe. Amidst the clinking of cups and the flow of wine, he seemed slightly tipsy and insisted on toasting me. "Xinyin Zhang, I never imagined you possessed such talent. Why didn't you tell me you played the zither so beautifully back then?" I silently rolled my eyes. "Minister Shen, the arts of zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting are merely foundational skills, nothing special. Your playing just now sounded so sorrowful. Are you resentful that I didn't marry you?" "Actually, Yun Zhang, I cut him off immediately. "Minister Shen, it's night time now. Stop daydreaming." With that, I left him behind and swept away. Across from me, Princess Ling's piercing gaze fixed on me, her expression thoughtful. The princess's warning came swiftly. Merely exchanging a few words with Song Jian at the state banquet was enough. Under the pretext of seeking instruction, she invited me daily to the princess's residence to play the zither, each session lasting an entire afternoon. Fortunately, I had secured a favorable marriage. After only a few afternoons, Ji Huaishu came to take me away. Had I not insisted, he likely would have come for me on the very first day. I began closely monitoring Song Jian's movements, acting with unwavering resolve. Didn't the princess favor Song Jian? Then I would present her with a gift she couldn't refuse. 2 months later, Song Jian was promoted once more. His visits to the princess's residence grew more frequent, and his overnight stays lengthened. Soon, I received the news I sought: the princess was pregnant. In my past life, it was also the princess's pregnancy that made Song Jian so eager to get rid of me. This time around, with events unfolding so much sooner and fewer obstacles in the way, Song Jian should be able to marry the princess as he wished. As I pondered this, an uninvited guest suddenly appeared in the courtyard. Fang Zhiqiao knelt before me the moment she saw me, kowtowing. "Miss Shen, please spare me. I truly regret my actions and will never compete for your husband again." Having lived 2 lifetimes, this was the first time I heard Zhiqiao offer a genuine apology, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of emotion. I lowered my gaze to look at her. She had changed. In just a few short months, the medicine had reduced her to skin and bones. Song Jian was truly heartless. To maintain her illness, he'd forced her to drink medicinal soups daily. "Miss Shen, I'll voluntarily leave the household and yield the position of Mrs. Song to you. I beg you, spare my life." As she spoke, her head continued to thud against the ground. I crouched down, staring at Fang Zhiqiao without a trace of emotion. "You're begging the wrong person. The one who harmed you wasn't me." "Then who was it? Who wanted to harm me?" Her voice turned shrill as she crawled forward on her knees, reaching for my sleeve. "If it wasn't you, then who? Xinyin Zhang, you poisonous woman. You dared to do it but won't own up." I stood up, towering over her. "Madam Song, Perhaps you should go back and ask your husband that question. Ask him how long he intends to wait before marrying the princess." Her eyes widened instantly, her face frozen in disbelief. She shrieked, "How could it be? How could it be the princess? The princess is the most ruthless of all. How could it be her?" Seeing my patience wane, Jiuyue interjected, "Madame Song has lost her mind. Guards, escort her out." Feng Zhiqiao was expelled from the estate, stumbling away. Her days were numbered. Yet I wondered, now that she knew the truth, what would she do next? Feng Zhiqiao did not disappoint. Upon confirming Song Jian's connection to the princess, she descended into utter madness. To save her life, she fled the Song residence once more, running into the streets to shout that Song Jian intended to kill her so he could marry the princess. When Song Jian found her, she refused to return. It took several servants to forcibly bind her and drag her back. But the rumors had already spread halfway down the street, impossible to contain. In the end, the princess spent a great deal of silver to finally quell the matter. This minor incident did not derail Song Jian's plans, instead, it strengthened his resolve to marry the princess. He publicly declared Feng Zhiqiao insane, seizing the opportunity to demote her to a concubine. Simultaneously, the princess sought out the empress. She proposed marrying Song Jian. The empress refused outright. Her reasoning was that Song Jian's family background was too lowly, and he was already married. The princess refused to relent. "That laundry maid has gone mad. Song Jian demoted her to a concubine. Enough. Anning, I've been too indulgent with you these years. This matter must not be mentioned again." Failing to get the answer she wanted, the princess stormed back to the princess's residence. That evening, Ji Huaishu sent me a message detailing today's palace events. It included the line, "All is ready." After reading the letter, I donned my outer robe and went to find my father. It was deep winter, outside, dripping water froze instantly. Clouds hung low, and snowflakes the size of petals drifted down, blanketing the entire courtyard. I caught a flake in my hand, where it melted instantly. After this snowfall, tomorrow should be clear. A major incident unfolded in court today. Chancellor Shin revisited the decade-old scandal involving the Marquis of Lin Yuan's marriage to Princess Shang and his mistreatment of Princess Qinghe. He proposed that to ensure the princess's happiness, her consort must relinquish his official position. The chamber erupted the moment these words were spoken. If the prince consort cannot hold office, who among the ambitious young men would dare to marry a princess? Song Jian was the first to voice opposition. Someone retorted, "The prince consort should be devoted solely to serving the princess. Are we to allow him to climb the ranks using the princess's influence, only to abuse her behind closed doors like the Marquis's mansion did back then? The Ho family was an anomaly. Countless men have married princesses in our dynasty, are we to assume every one of them mistreated their bride?" Song Jian argued fiercely. Enforcing this rule would make princesses unmarriageable, ruining their lives. Princesses are noble daughters of the imperial family, how could they go unmarried? Who would dare refuse such a match? Even without official posts, becoming a prince consort guarantees a lifetime of luxury. If a princess marries a man of true talent, his inability to hold office would be a loss to the court. The two factions argued fiercely, giving the emperor a headache. He was unaware that the princess had requested to marry below her station to the empress the previous day. He only vaguely sensed that Song Jian's reaction seemed somewhat excessive. Noticing Ji Huaishu, who had been observing the scene from the sidelines, he asked, "What does Prince Duan think?" Ji Huaishu stepped forward, his expression a half-smile as he regarded Song Jian. "Minister Song fears so greatly that the prince consort won't hold office. Could it be the rumors from the other day were true? That Minister Song truly has won Princess Anning's favor?" Song Jian's heart skipped a beat. Groundless rumors. Naturally untrue. That's good. Ji Huaishu gave him a meaningful look before addressing the emperor. "Your Majesty, I believe one cannot have both fish and bear's paw. The dignity of the imperial family must not be violated. If one marries the princess, one must ensure her lifelong happiness. Human hearts are unpredictable. Should another case like the Lin Yuan Marquis' household arise, everyone will view marrying the princess as a stepping stone for advancement, and none will be sincere toward her. The emperor listened thoughtfully. Song Jian was about to speak further when the figure on the dragon throne waved a hand. Approved! From this day forth, the prince consort shall hold no official position. Song Jian staggered, the world spinning violently. The matter was far from settled. No sooner had the decision been made that Princess Anning burst into the hall. Father, this daughter has set her heart upon Minister Song. I beg your blessing. The chamber erupted in commotion. Elder statesmen exchanged glances, murmuring among themselves. Minister Song? Which Minister Song? Is there any unmarried man surnamed Song in this court? Only Song Jian wished he could sink into the ground. The emperor's face darkened as he turned to Princess Anning. Anning, which Minister Song are you referring to? Princess Anning pointed. It is Song Jian, assistant reader of the Hanlin Academy. Your humble daughter is fond of him. In an instant, all eyes converged on Song Jian. Recalling how he just argued vehemently over whether Princess Shang could hold office, disdain flashed across their faces. Song Jian hastily shot Princess Anning a warning glance. Kneeling before the emperor, he bowed his head. Your Majesty, this humble servant knows not what the princess speaks of. The princess's expression hardened as she strode before him. Song Jian, are you going back on your word? Didn't you promise to marry me? Under the gaze of so many eyes, Song Jian found himself at a loss for words. He gently tugged at Princess Anning's skirt hem. The princess, ignoring Song Jian, knelt directly before the emperor. Father, your humble daughter is carrying Song Jian's child. I beg you to grant us marriage. One was pregnant before marriage, the other was a married man. Faced with this royal scandal, the ministers watching the spectacle were utterly stunned. In all their years of service, they had never witnessed such a dramatic scene. Finally, the emperor flew into a rage. This farce concluded with the princess being granted marriage to Song Jian. Song Jian left court in a daze, walking in a stupor. Ji Huaishu approached. Congratulations, Prince Consort Song. Your wish is granted. Song Jian's face turned ashen. He stumbled and fell, unconscious. When Ji Huaishu arrived, I was sipping tea in the courtyard. Yun Zhang, you truly foresee events with uncanny accuracy. Yesterday, I followed your suggestion and had 2 palace maids gossip in front of Anning. Today, she came to cause a scene in the court. I pushed the freshly brewed tea toward him. It's all thanks to your abilities, Prince Duan. Otherwise, this wouldn't have gone so smoothly. He sipped the tea. That Song Jian is truly despicable. Had you agreed to marry him back then, the consequences would have been unimaginable. I shot him a glance but said nothing. Memories from my past life flooded back, how slander can corrode bones, how gossip can melt metal. Had I not been reborn, I would have been lost forever. After the court incident, Song Jian became the talk of the entire capital. With the princess pregnant, the wedding was barely a formality, hastily concluded. The glory he once enjoyed as the top scholar now turned to utter disgrace. Wherever he went, people pointed fingers behind his back, leaving him utterly humiliated. It was ironic, really, he'd been married twice, while I remained unwed. Days passed like this until the princess soon grew weary of Song Jian. Back when he was with her, he'd been driven by ambition for power and status, naturally showering her with every conceivable favor. Now that his dreams were shattered, he saw her only as a shrew who treated him like a servant day in and day out. The princess quickly noticed his change in attitude. Since he wouldn't obey, she'd beat him into submission. If he didn't understand, punishment would teach him. There were plenty of ways to make him learn. Eventually, even the male courtesans and servants in the princess's mansion trampled him at will. So Song Jian fell ill, and this sickness lasted for months. Just when I was hoping he'd die from it, he found me. His eyes were sunken, his arms covered in crisscrossing whip marks. Yun Zhang, I had a dream. In it, you were my true wife. My heart skipped a beat. Had he remembered his past life too? Your Highness must be suffering from hysteria. If you wish to die, kill yourself, don't drag me down with you. Did you know about that dream too? He blocked my path. Yun Zhang, you knew all along, didn't you? That's why you refused my marriage proposal? I pulled away, my eyes burning with undisguised hatred. Yes, I knew all along. Satisfied, Song Jian? I was devoted to you, yet you destroyed my family. I've hated you for years. He stared at me blankly, tears streaming down his face. Yin Zhang, I was forced by the princess. I truly believed you killed Xiqiao. Enough, Song Jian. I snapped. Stop putting on that hypocritical act. The sight of you sickens me. You're nothing but a selfish, power-hungry opportunist. Stop trying to whitewash your actions. You scorned Xiqiao as vulgar, so you sought a higher branch, marrying the princess. When that failed to secure your official position, you regretted not betrothing yourself to me. You're nothing but a vain, treacherous, heartless scoundrel who murdered his wife for glory. You're worse than a dog or a pig. Stung by my words, he tried to justify himself. Yin Zhang, people naturally seek higher ground. I was merely securing my own future. Besides, I never married the princess in my past life. Ha! Whether you married a princess or not is none of my concern. Can't you earn your own future through your own abilities? Must you trample over others' corpses to get there? Song Jian, I gave you a chance. If you and Fang Xiqiao had lived quietly, I would never have targeted you. It's your own doing that you've brought this upon yourself. You deserve it. With that, I pushed him away and walked straight out. The 7th day of the 7th month was my wedding day. As I stepped into the bridal sedan chair, my parents held me, their eyes red from crying, utterly heartbroken. Only Juyu remained composed. Master and mistress, do not grieve. Our daughter has married a worthy man and will be happy for the rest of her life. Memories began to blur. In my past life, my mother had held me and wept just like this on my wedding day, though then she'd been even more anxious about my future. You haven't even entered the door yet, and he already has a secondary wife. How will you manage? Jiyue wept too, swearing on her life that she would care for me well forever. In the end, my parents were falsely accused, and Jiyue was beaten to death. I hugged my mother back. Juyu was right. The prince's fief isn't far. If father and mother miss me, I'll simply come back. The prince's wedding and the chancellor's daughter's marriage were the most talked about events in the capital today. Princess Anning also came to witness the ceremony. At the banquet, someone mentioned, I heard that Miss Shen nearly married Song Jian back then. Indeed. Had she married him, she'd likely met the same fate as his first wife. Shoo! Watch out, the princess might hear. Upon learning this, Princess Anning's face darkened. That night, she dragged Song Jian out and humiliated him, lashing him repeatedly with a whip. Now reduced to a pitiful state, Song Jian saw no hope of redemption, yet Anning continued her torment. Desperation bred cruelty. He snatched the whip from Anning and tightened it around her neck. You bitch! You ruined my entire life. Only after Anning drew her last breath did he realize what he'd done. He burst into tears, then slammed his head against the wall, ending his own life. When I heard this news, Ji Huaishu and I were on our way to the palace to present tea. Ji Huaishu murmured with slight discontent, what rotten luck, they had to pick this very day. I clasped his hand and smiled gently. Why bother with others? As long as we live well together, that's all that matters. Yesterday's sorrows are as dead as yesterday itself, today's joys are as alive as today itself. The past is dark and irretrievable, but the road ahead shines bright and glorious. The end.